We are hearing Srimad Bhagavad Gita, but I have to keep two, because in this one there is only some Devanagari letters, no Sanskrit. We heard yesterday that there are two armies, Pandavas and Kauravas, and Arjuna requested Krishna to take him in the middle, and when he saw his relatives and gurus and all there on the other side, then he became disturbed and bewildered, and he said, it is not good to fight, because for what we will fight? And also they, Kauravas, they don't know there is anything wrong in killing relatives, but we know, so why we should do this? This we heard yesterday. The Arjuna gave such reasoning. Kula kshoye pranashyanti kula dharma sanatana dharme nashte kulam kritsnam adharmo bibhavati uta. By wiping out a family, the traditional religious rituals of the family are lost. When tradition is destroyed, degeneration and unrighteousness soon overtake the rest of the family. Adharma bhibhavat Krishna pradushyanti kula striya strishu dushtasu varshneya jayate varna shankara. O Krishna, when irreligion predominates, even the chaste ladies of a respectable family go astray. O gem of the race of Vrishni, when ladies go astray, chaos of caste results. Sankaro narakayaiva kula gnanam kulasya cha patanti pitarohyesham lupto pindodaka kriya. This admixture of blood leads both the family and its destroyers to perdition. Ancestors of such a family, being deprived of the funeral offering and libations, are sure to be degraded. Dosher etai kula gnanam varna sankara karakai utsyadhyante jati dharma kula dharmascha shashvata. The family customs, dharma, and religious usages, as well as the caste duties in vogue from time immemorial, will be wiped out by the aforesaid vices of the destroyers of the family, which give rise to chaos of castes. Utsanna kula dharmanam manushyanam janardana narake niyatam vaso bhavatiti anu shushruma. O Janardan, I have heard by disciplic succession that the men of the families, sorry, I'm reading from this, We are told, O Janardhan, that those whose family usage, dharma, is thus ruined are doomed to hell. Aho bata mahat papam kartum vyavasita vayam yat rajya sukalobhena hantum svajanam udyata. Alas, what a pity! We are ready to commit a great sin, because overpowered by the greed for enjoying a kingdom, we are attempting to take the lives of our friends and relatives. Yadimam apratikaram ashatram shastra panaya dhartarashtra rane hanyus tanme kshemataram bhavet. It would be better for me if I should be killed in the battle, unarmed and unresisting, by the sons of Dhritarashtra with weapons in hand. Here there is commentary. The sympathy shown by Arjuna to his kith and kin, friends and relatives, is known as altruism, which consists in the physical and mental amelioration of the world. This altruism is apparent and not real, because in this both the donor and the receiver of kindness are transient and perishable. Real kindness, therefore, consists in the awakening of the soul as distinct from mind and body, now lying in a dormant state, steeped in the gloom of ignorance of the real nature of the self proper and of Godhead, which is dealt with in the next chapter. So one is kindness to body and mind for their improvement, but both the helper and helped, both are temporary and destroyable. So that is not real kindness. Real kindness is to awake Atma, which is now dormant because of ignorant state, means because of aversion to Krishna, now misidentifying. So here Arjuna proposes, no, this is not good, but Krishna will give another better proposal. Sanjaya Uvach Evam Uktvarjuna Sankhya Rato Pasta Upavishat Visrijya Sasharam Chapam Shoka Samvigna Manasa. Sanjay said, so saying, Arjuna forsook his bow and arrow and sat down on the chariot in the battlefield with a melancholy heart. So this is the end of first chapter. Gist is given here. This chapter describes the dejection of Arjuna at the sight of the belligerent forces. Now, second chapter. Here, chapter 2, Sankhya Yoga, or the principle of the distinction between soul and body. Here Maharaj gives a summary. Seeing Arjuna dispirited and dejected, the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna exhorted him, saying that the despondency on his part was due to over-attachment for his kith and kin and revered elders and preceptors. So he should give up his pusillanimity of heart and rise to the occasion. Helpless and bewildered, Arjuna surrendered himself entirely to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna and prayed for enlightenment as to his duty at this critical juncture. Thereupon the Supreme Lord, taking pity on him, advised him not to lament either for the living or for the dead, inasmuch as the soul, being immortal, is not identical with the body, which is ephemeral and transient. The Supreme Lord continued that there are two kinds of souls, viz. The Jivatmas. Now, there are two kinds of soul. One is Jivatma, the individual soul, and Paramatma, the oversoul. Arjuna and the others that had assembled in the battlefield are all individual souls, and he, the Supreme Lord, is the oversoul. It is not that he and they did not exist before, nor is it that he and they would cease to exist some time hence, but that he and they existed in the past, exist now, and will exist in the future. Jivatman, or the individual soul, is an infinitesimal atomic part of the oversoul. The duty of the Jiva in its free state is to worship the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna with unalloyed devotion, while the duties of a fallen Jiva have been prescribed by the scriptures according to his qualities and actions. Such prescribed duties are incumbent on a Jiva living in society. This system is known as Varna Ashram Dharma. What else is more beneficial for a Kshatriya than to fight for a right cause? The Blessed Lord mentioned Nishkama Karma Yoga, or the principle of desireless action for a fallen Jiva. When all desires in the heart are uprooted and the mind is emancipated from the bondage of the world, the soul attains Brahma Nirvana, that is to say, complete liberation and everlasting bliss in the spiritual realm. When an individual soul abandons all mental speculations and attains the blissful state, he is known as Sthita Pragya, that is to say, he is said to have reached the stage of placidity or serenity. Such a soul is said to have full control over the senses. When the fire of divine love is enkindled with the transcendental knowledge of the relationship of the Jiva with the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, thirst for worldly enjoyment automatically ceases. Our Gurudev also told, when one can see that nothing can happen without the will of Supreme Lord, and that he is all good, and he is fully surrendered to him, he sees the grace of Supreme Lord in all circumstances, then he is always calm and serene. So here, serenity is there, Sthita Pragya. Sanjaya Uvach Tam Tatha Kripaya Vishtam Ashru Purna Kulekshanam Vishidantam Idam Vakyam Uvacha Madhusudanaha. Sanjay said, then, seeing Arjuna overwhelmed with pity, crestfallen, and his eyes swollen with tears, did Sri Madhusudan, the remover of all mental agonies, by his mellifluent words address him thus. Shri Bhagavan Uvach Kutastva Kashmalam idam Vishame Samupastitam Anarya Jushtam Asvargyam Akirti Karam Arjuna. The Blessed Lord Shri Krishna said, O Arjuna, at this very critical juncture, why does this ignoble, unheavenly, and disgraceful delusion come upon thee? Klaibhyam masma gamah partha naitat tvai upapadyate kshudram hridaya daurbalyam tyak tvotishta parantapa. O Partha, means son of Pritha or Kunti, do not give way to such impotent cowardice. It does not befit you. O Parantapa, or tormentor of enemies, shake off this feeble-heartedness and rise up to fight. Here commentary is coming. Shri Krishna said, O Arjuna, as you are my friend, you do not lack in valor. On the other hand, you are the tormentor, nay, the conqueror of all your enemies. But this your despondency is due to your over-attachment for your kith and kin and for your revered superiors like Bhishma and Drona. This betrays your weakness of spirit. So give up this pusillanimity of heart and rise to the occasion. Pusillanimity, weakness of heart. Arjuna Uvach Katham Bhishmam Aham Sankhya Dronam Cha Madhusudana Ishubih Pratiyotsyami Pujarho Ari Sudana. Arjuna replied, O Madhusudan, O thou killer of enemies, how shall I in the battle aim arrows at the revered Bhishma and Drona? Drona is guru of martial art guru of Arjuna, so he is fully indebted to him. And Bhishma was one who raised him up, because Pandu was blind and he died. So there are the two greatest attachment for Arjuna, Bhishma and Dronacharya. And Krishna, knowing this fully well, he brought the chariot directly in front of them so that Arjuna would see them. That was on purpose, intentionally. Gurun ahatva hi mahanubhavan shreyo bhoktum bhaikshyam apihaloke hatvarta kamamstu gurun iheva bunjya bogan rudira pradigdhan. It is better to live on alms in this world than to kill my revered superiors. Besides killing the superiors, I shall have to enjoy even in this world wealth and desires stained with blood. Here a commentary is coming. If thou ask, O Krishna, how Bhishma and Drona can be said to be revered superiors, when after all they are mercenary teachers given to worldliness and therefore should be killed, even then they are my revered superiors and preceptors, and destruction of such revered elders and teachers may bring temporary prosperity in this world, but can never afford any peace or felicity in the next. Besides, even in this world, I shall have to enjoy a kingdom, wealth and desires stained with blood, having killed my gurus. Arjuna giving reasoning. Mercenary. He said, better I should beg in the forest. But that is not proper for kshatriya and householder. So Arjuna was so bewildered because of his attachment that he lost this, what is to be done, what is not to be done. Nachaitat vidmah kataran nogario yatva jayema yadiva no jayeyuh yan eva hatva na jiji vishamas tevastitah pramukhe dhartarashtraha. We do not know which is better, victory or defeat, because the sons of Dhritarashtra, after killing whom we do not wish to survive, are now ready to give battle to us. Here explanation. It is the duty of a kshatriya to fight his enemies. Supposing we come out victorious in the fight, it will be intolerable for us to bear the pangs of separation from our deceased friends and relatives, and the very remembrance that we have killed our revered superiors and preceptors out of a maddening love for worldly prosperity will torment us till death. So the after effects of war, whether it ends in victory or defeat, will be disastrous for us. Thus, placed on the horns of a dilemma, I am at a loss to determine whether I am to fight or not. Karpanya dosho pahata swabhava prichami tvam dharma samuda chetaha yashriyah syan nishchitam bruhitan me shishyasteham shadi mam tvam prapannam. Unable to discern right and wrong, and bereft of my heroic nature, I am now a victim to the stigma of cowardice. I therefore implore thee, O Krishna, to instruct me what is, forsooth, essentially good for me. I am thy disciple who has surrendered entirely to thee. So this is the most important point Gurudev told. Arjuna gave many reasons, but Krishna did not approve. Why you are weak? It does not befit you. Then Arjuna could understand that Krishna is not approving, and he was bewildered. So he said, I don't know what I have to do. So I become your disciple and I fully surrender unto you. You please advise me. So when we give up our own ideas and completely surrender to Guru or Krishna, then they can give us instructions and we can understand. But if someone does not submit from the heart, maybe outwardly he may make a show, but inside he has so many desires and ideas and everything. He submits only for outward show to get confirmation or something. It's not real surrender. In such a case, Guru will not be inclined to speak, to advise. And even if someone hears this, what Krishna was telling to Arjuna, without he himself also submitting to Krishna like Arjuna did, he will be unable to understand what Krishna is speaking. Because that will descend only to a surrendered soul who emptied himself and really surrendered for guidance. Then he will receive that. But if one does not surrender, he cannot receive, he cannot understand. He may give some wrong interpretations, but that will not be beneficial. So this is the most important point. I am thy disciple who has surrendered entirely to thee. You please instruct me. What is essentially good for me? Nahi prapashyami mama panudyat yachokam uchoshanam indriyanam avapya bhumau asapatnam ridham rajyam suranam api chadipatyam. Despite the attainment of undisputed and abundant sovereignty of the whole world and the overlordship in heaven, I do not find any remedy to wipe out the grief that saps my mind and senses. Sanjaya Uvach Evam Uktva Hrishikesham Gura Keshach Parantapa Nayotsya iti Govindam Uktva Tushnim Bhubhuva Ha. So even Arjuna, knowing if I will win, I will get all these things. Even knowing this, still I cannot wipe out this grief. It is impossible. So we have to be open-hearted to Guru and surrendered. Then he will help us. And following that, we will be rescued. Sanjay said, then Gurakesh, means Arjuna, addressing Shri Krishna, said, O Govinda, I shall fight no more, and remained silent. Tam uvacha Hrishikeshah prahasan iva bharata senayor ubhayor madhye vishidantam idam vacha. Sanjay continued, O Dhritarashtra, finding Arjuna overwhelmed with grief in the midst of the belligerent armies, Hrishikesha, Govinda, smilingly said to him thus. Shri Bhagavan Uvach Ashochan Anvashocastvam Pragya Vadamscha Bhasa Se Gatasun Agatasunschcha Nanusochanti Panditaha. The blessed Lord said, O Arjuna, despite your talking like the wise, you are really mourning for those who are not worth mourning, because the truly wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. Not Tve na tveva ham jatu nasam natvam neme janadipaha nacheva na bhavishyamam sarve vayam atah param. It is not that you, all these princes, and I did not exist before, nor it is a fact that we shall cease to exist after this. Explanation. For the purpose of showing the distinction between soul and body, and the identical nature of the soul with the oversoul in respect of quality, the blessed Lord continued. The soul is immortal, and there is no reason to grieve. There are two kinds of souls, Jivatman, individual soul, and Paramatman, oversoul. I am the oversoul, and you and this princess are all individual souls. We all now exist. We existed in the past, and we shall continue to exist in future. Dehinosmin jata dehe kaumaram jovanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatra na muhyati. Just as childhood, youth, and decrepitude befall an engrossed individual soul in his physical body, so also the getting of another body befalls him. A man of pure intelligence does not deplore these things. This decrepitude means old age. So as this is happening, also that will happen, and getting another body. So should not. Explanation. Now, with regard to the engrossed individual soul, the blessed Lord goes on to say, just as this our physical body passes from childhood to youth, which again is gradually metamorphosed into decrepitude, and yet the essential being or soul remains the same all the while. Similarly, the soul does not cease to exist, even when that soul passes through a cycle of births and deaths. Men of pure intelligence, therefore, do not deplore the loss by death of this temporary tabernacle of the soul. Tabernacle like a cage or Matra sparshas tu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkada agama pai no nityas tam stitikshasva bharata. O son of Kunti, sense perception is either pleasant or painful. What is explanation. First I have to read translation. I started with explanation, sorry. Translation to these 14th verses. O Arjuna, the son of Kunti, the sense perceptions of objects are cold or hot, pleasant or painful. They are subject to beginning and end, and transient. So, O Bharata, endure them with patience. Explanation. O son of Kunti, sense perception is either pleasant or painful. What is pleasant in one set of circumstances may be painful in another. cold and heat, and will and woe are felt by the senses. They are therefore transient. It is a religious duty enjoined by the scriptures to endure them patiently. Fighting is the ordained duty of a kshatriya, the religion of which may give rise to great evils. So if you don't want to fight, that will give rise to great evils. Means not doing that duty. Yam hi na vyathayanti ete purusham purusharshabha samadukha sukham dhiram so mritatvaya kalpate. O chief among men, he who is not afflicted by sense perceptions, pleasures or pain, and is serene, is deserving enough to get at the blissful immortality, that is to say, realization of the nature of the self. Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sata, ubhayor api drishtontas, tvanayos tattva darshibhi. There is no eternal existence of changeable things, and there is no destruction of the eternal substance. So, the knowers of the truth see through the distinctive characters of both of them. Explanation. The physical body of flesh and blood is changeable and ephemeral. The Jivatma is real, that is to say, unchangeable and eternal. Grief, infatuation, etc. are the properties of body and mind, and not of the Jiva. They spring up from our fleshy affinities. They do not exist in the transcendental plane of our unalloyed existence that is eternal and blissful. So, the knowers of the unmixed truth have definitely made a distinction between reality and unreality, and between substance and shadow. Hence, the souls of Bhishma, Drona, and others are immortal, though their physical bodies are perishable. Avinasi tu tat vidhi yena sarvam idam tatam vinasham avyayasyasya nakaschit kartum arhati. The Jiva soul by whom this whole system is being pervaded should be known to be indestructible. No one is able to bring about destruction of this immortal soul. Explanation. The immortal soul that exists as Atma in all human bodies, though an infinitesimal atomic essence of Oversoul, has the tendency to pervade in the system like a drop of potent medicine. If you give medicine to the mouth, and it will go to stomach, but effect will be felt whole body. Like that, when soul is present, then is pervading. The soul is therefore designated as Sarvaga, he who can travel everywhere, because he can wander in heaven and hell, and in cycle of births, and being eternal, nobody can destroy him. Antavanta ime deha nitya syokta sharirina anashino prameyasya tasmat yudhasva bharata. These bodies of the eternal, indestructible and immeasurable soul are said to be transient. So Arjuna get up to fight. Explanation. The gross and the subtle body of the soul in its fettered state. Fettered means bound. Fettered state of existence is limited and ephemeral, while the essential being is immeasurable, eternal and indestructible. You cannot measure the soul by any material measurement because it is transcendental. So even that description, if you take a tip of hair and divide it into 100 parts and again that part into 100, that will be the size of the soul. That is, according to Baladev Vidyabushan, not literal, but it is only as an example that it is something very small. But actually, even if you could make that size, that would be material size. But soul is immeasurable by any material measurement. But it is infinitesimal in comparison to Supreme Lord. Both are transcendental, eternal, spiritual, but he is Vibhu, we are on atomic, very small, but this atomic or infinite has no any material measurement. That is why here it is said, it is immeasurable, eternal and indestructible. Ya enam veti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam ubho tau na vijanito nayam hanti na hanyate. Not allegorical but conceptual. Baladev Vidyabushan said that size of the soul is conceptual description, meaning something very immeasurably small. We cannot measure because it is, you cannot measure that tip of soul. It's very small. So, but it is still conceptual only. Soul has no material size. However small you may get or imagine or anything, still that is material size, but Jiva has no material size. Both of them who think that the soul is the killer and who think that the soul is killed know nothing at all. For the soul does not kill anybody, nor is killed by anybody. Explanation. My dear friend Arjuna, you are a soul. Neither can you destroy nor be destroyed. You need not, therefore, be afraid of being calumniated by the ignorant as a killer of your revered superiors. They will criticize you that you are ignorant. No, they are ignorant. They will criticize you that you are a killer of your revered superiors. Soul cannot be killed. So you cannot kill. Neither can you destroy nor be destroyed. You need not therefore be afraid of being calumniated by the ignorant. They are ignorant. They will think, oh, you killed them. But he cannot kill them, and they cannot be killed. न जायते म्रियते व कदाचिन नायम भूत्वा भाविता वा न भूया आजो नित्य शाश्वतोयम पुराणो न हान्यते हान्यमाने शरीरे. The soul is never born, nor is he ever dead. Neither after taking birth will he be born again. The soul is unborn, ever existent, not subject to decay, ancient, but ever fresh. The soul is not destroyed, even if the body is killed. So you cannot actually kill anyone. Soul cannot be killed, and he is the person, the soul. You can kill the body, but not him. Explanation. The Jiva soul is unborn, that is to say, not subject to birth and death. He is eternal, that is to say, he exists at all times and is therefore beyond the ambit of past or future. He is not subject to growth or decay. He is the most ancient of all ancients, and yet ever new and fresh. He neither kills nor is killed. There is no essential relationship between him and his physical frame, which alone is subject to births and deaths. Veda vi nashinam nityam ya enam ajam avyayam katham sa purushah partha kam ghatayati hantikam. O Partha, how does that person kill or cause to kill someone who knows the soul to be eternal, unborn, unchangeable, and imperishable? How does that person kill or cause to kill someone who knows the soul to be eternal, unborn, unchangeable, and imperishable? Vasamsi jirnani jatha vihaya navani grinati naroparani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani avyani samyati navani dehi. Just as people wear new clothes, casting off old and worn out ones, so also the soul, leaving aside the old and withered body, enters a fresh and new one. Enters fresh and new one. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, nachainam kledayanti apo, nashoshayati marutaha. Neither can weapon destroy the soul, nor can fire burn him. Water cannot wet him, nor can air dry him up. Achedyo yam adahyo yam, akledyo shoshya evacha, nityah sarvagatah stanur, achalo yam sanatanaha. The soul cannot be snapped asunder, He is beyond the possibility of being burned. Nothing can water or drench him. He is incapable of being dried up. He is eternal, all-permitting, that is to say, capable of entering any physique. He is steady, immovable, and is ever existing. Avyakto yam achintyo yam avikaryo yam uchyate tasmat evam viditvainam nanu shochitum arhasi. The soul is inexpressible, he is inconceivable, and is said to be immutable. Therefore, knowing the soul to be such, you should not have grief. Explanation. He is inexpressible because he is more subtle than the most subtle object in the phenomenal world and is not visible to mortal eyes. He is inconceivable because he permits all over the body. He is immutable because he is not subject to the 6 properties of the body, viz. Birth, hunger, thirst, disease, decrepitude, and death. Nor is he subject to the 6 properties of the mind, viz. Lust, anger, avarice, infatuation, vanity, and malice. You should therefore abandon all thoughts of grief, knowing the nature of the soul as such. Just this verse so that it comes to Atha chainam nitya jatam nityam va manya semritam tathapi tvam mahabaho nainam shochitum arhasi jatasya hi dhruva mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmat apariharyarthe na tvam shochitum arhasi. O mighty armed, even if you think the soul to be subject to constant births and deaths, still it does not behoove you to grieve for him. Explanation. The translation also, 27th I read. For death is inevitable for those who are born, and birth too is inevitable for those who die. So it does not become you to lament for the consequences that are unavoidable. Explanation. O mighty armed Arjuna, if you subscribe to the popular belief on the basis of ocular proof, means eyes, that the soul is inseparably connected with the body and that it has its births and deaths like the body in the cycle of fruitive action, or to the view that the soul is subject to constant deaths, even then you have no reason to grieve. If you still grieve, you will degrade yourself. If on the expiry of enjoyment and suffering of the results of fruitive actions, that be inevitable after birth, and rebirth be unavoidable after death, to enjoy as well as to suffer from the fruits of actions of this life, even then it does not behoove you to lament over such consequences that are inevitable. If you are still carried away by grief, you will simply degrade yourself. This is Buddhists, they are thinking like that. They cannot accept there is some individual eternal soul, unchangeable, which passes from one body to another, but is same person. They cannot believe this, cannot accept. But they think that this some body-mind, this combination, this energy will transform when dying, and then it will transform to another one. So they are not considering that as reincarnation, but new birth. New birth. Like in science, you cannot destroy the energy. Either it will transform, but you can never destroy it. So their conception is also like that, that it is always changing. So if it is always changing, this death is also another change, and again it will go further and like this. So you should not be disturbed because of that, because it is inevitable. So here Krishna is saying, even if you don't accept the Vedic truth about soul, that reality, even if you, by your these eyes, you can see, if you properly observe, what is born will die, and what died will be born again. So still, in that case also you have nothing to lament, because it is inevitable. It is happening, so you just have to accept the truth as it is. Why you should lament? So Krishna is first trying to make him understand that he should not lament. Then he will say further what will be proper action and what will be the result of that action. So Buddhists, although they are speaking about karma and next life and previous lives and like this, but their conception is not like Vedic. No, that is more of like scientific, based on sense perception. Clear sense perception without any attachments. They meditate and they clear their attachments and see that everything is temporary. So it is inevitable. So if you are attached, you will suffer. But if you are not attached and have no any particular identification, then you will not suffer that attachment. So this sort of understanding they have. But you should know that they are not speaking about reincarnation the same as Vedic. They don't accept the soul. They think that is fictitious. Because they have no belief in Veda and they have no realization of reality. And then they will say, no, what you think to be eternal is not so. It is actually temporary. But here Krishna already told that those who see the truth, they know what is eternal and what is not eternal. It is not that they are mistaking non-eternal for eternal. No. They know there are two different natures. They realized. So they agree that is changeable, okay. But there is another that is eternal. But the Buddhists, they cannot believe, cannot accept, due to lack of Sukriti. Tomorrow we'll hear further.